Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB game scheduled for Tuesday, June 13th, 2023. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at the premium picks tab at pickdawgz.com. Alrighty, let's get into it. Here are the games for Tuesday in Major League Baseball. Next up, we see the Atlanta Braves taking on the Detroit Tigers. Spencer Strider and Reese Olson are your starters. Now, obviously, the Braves are big favorites here, so there's not a ton of value in a game like this, but I still think Atlanta gets the job done on the run line. You could say, Spencer Strider struggled in his last start. He's been giving up some home runs as of late as well, and Reese Olson's pitched pretty well in his first two starts at the big league level, but this is no doubt the toughest test that Olson's had so far this year. His first start was against the White Sox, one of the worst lineups in baseball against righties. The second start was against the Phillies, one of the more inconsistent lineups in baseball. Now you're facing the Atlanta Braves. The team has crushed righties and lefties pretty consistently throughout the season. And let's just say Strider and Olson go toe-to-toe for the first 5 innings of this game. I still think Atlanta has the much better bullpen in this one, and that's why we saw Strider give up 8 earned runs in the start against the New York Mets last time out, and the Braves still went on to win that 13-10, the final score, covering the run line in the end, having a run and a half to spare. So, I do think that the Braves win this one, pretty convincingly. I think Strider bounces back here. He's still been able to miss a lot of bats. He's at 121 strikeouts in those 73 2/3 innings. The Tigers have not had the best numbers against righties this season. So for me, a lean with the Braves here on the run line. But like I said, not a lot of value in a game like this. Next up, it's the Toronto Blue Jays taking on the Baltimore Orioles. Chris Bassitt and Dean Kramer are your starters. Chris Bassitt has been excellent at home this season at Rogers Center. 41 1/3 innings of work, a 2.18 ERA, only 2 home runs allowed, and a 131 opponent's batting average. But on the road, not so much, a 4.43 ERA and 40 2/3 innings of work. Lower strikeout numbers, a slightly higher walk rate, and a much higher opponent's batting average at 253 with 10 home runs allowed. So against the Orioles, a team is top 10 in baseball in isolated power and top 15 in team OPS against right-handed pitchers in the last 30 days. I do expect Bassitt to struggle. Now, Dean Kramer's got a pretty steep ERA on paper, 4.89, and he struggled in his last start against the Brewers. But when you look outside of that start, he was really in good form going into that game. He had a really good May, 2.45 ERA in 29 1/3 innings of work. He pitched well, a quality start on the road in his first start of June against the San Francisco Giants. 6 innings, 2 runs, 6 strikeouts in a 3-2 Orioles win. So I do think he bounces back here, and I think the Orioles bats are going to back him up. I like the Orioles in this game on the money line. Give me Baltimore money line. Next up, we see the Colorado Rockies taking on the Boston Red Sox. We're going to see Chase Anderson and Cutter Crawford on the mound in this one. The Red Sox are big favorites in this game, I think for a good reason. Cutter Crawford's been strong this season, even though mostly featured out of the bullpen and hasn't been the best in the starting pitching role. I still think he's good enough here against the Rockies, and I think the Red Sox bats are going to back him up in a big way. Chase Anderson had a really good start to the season with his team, the Tampa Bay Rays. Then he moves to the Rockies. He's pitched well in his first couple outings with them. We're starting to see him regress a little bit in his last couple of games, even though he was starting to miss some bats in his last start against the Giants. We've also seen 4 home runs allowed in his last 11 1/3 innings of work. His last start was against the Giants, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 2 homers, like I mentioned, 5 1/3 innings of work, and a 6-4 loss. I don't like his chances in this one against the Red Sox team. It's been pretty good against righties for the most part overall this season. And the Rockies bullpen has also not been very trustworthy lately. So give me the Boston Red Sox here on the run line, laying those 1.5 runs. Next up, we see the Subway Series between the New York Yankees and the New York Mets. Luis Severino and Max Scherzer are your starters. It's going to be a 7:10 Eastern start time on TBS. Now, Luis Severino has struggled in his last couple of games. There's no doubting that. 6 home runs allowed in his last 2 starts. Max Scherzer has pitched really well at Citi Field this season. He's got a .5 ERA in his first 18 innings of work at home. However, I just can't get there with the New York Mets. This offense has been so inconsistent. The bullpen has also struggled as of late. We saw the Mets just DFA Tommy Hunter, a member of their bullpen. And, Max Scherzer's last start, 11 base hits, 5 earned runs against the Atlanta Braves. That's not going to be able to get it done. Luis Severino has pitched very well against the Mets and at Citi Field in his career, so I do think he'll bounce back here. Even without Aaron Judge in the lineup, this Yankees lineup is good enough, I think, to take down the Mets, a team that just got swept by the Blue Jays, swept by the Braves, and lost 2 of 3 at Pittsburgh against the Pirates. I'm going to take that plus money here with the New York Yankees in Game 1 of this series. Next up, we see the Milwaukee Brewers taking on the Minnesota Twins. Corbin Burnes and Pablo Lopez are your starters. Corbin Burnes' last start, 8 innings of work, 9 strikeouts, only 2 base hits, no earned runs, no walks, no homers. He was sensational in that game as a 10-2 Brewers win. I like his chances here against a Twins team that, as of late, their strikeout number is just getting really high. They're 29.8% in the last month against right-handed pitchers. I do think a strikeout-heavy team like the Twins will struggle against a guy like Corbin Burnes, and Pablo Lopez is just really tough to back with him at Target Field this season. I mean, he's got in 43 innings of work on the road, a 2.72 ERA, but in 35 and a third innings at Target Field at home, 6.11 ERA. I do expect those numbers to regress a little bit, in a positive direction going forward, as, his home runs per 9 isn't terrible, only 4 home runs allowed, but still, a lot of base hits allowed from Pablo Lopez, a good amount of sharp contact as well. I do expect the Brewers to get to him here just for a few runs. I think that's enough for Corbin Burnes to, give the Brewers 6-7 sharp innings and win this game in the end. So give me the Milwaukee Brewers here on the money line. Next up, we see the San Francisco Giants taking on the St. Louis Cardinals. We're going to see Alex Cobb and Jack Flaherty on the mound in this one. Alex Cobb's been a starting pitcher this season that goes out and gives the Giants a chance to win a ball game. I mean, you look at his last 2 starts against the Rockies and the Orioles. One of those starts, he was excellent. 7 2/3 innings, 7 strikeouts, no runs. The Giants won that game 4-0. The next start against the Rockies, he wasn't the best in that game. 5 innings, 4 runs, but he still was able to earn 7 strikeouts. He did not give up a single home run, only 1 walk, and it was a good enough start for the Giants to go on to win that game 6-4. The final, the Giants have won 6 of Cobb's last 7 starts, including a 4-1 record in the month of May, where he had a 3.77 ERA. I think he pitches well here, even though the Cardinals have pretty good numbers against righties as of late. Jack Flaherty has struggled so far this season at Busch Stadium in 25 innings of work, a 6.12 ERA. I do think the Giants do just enough to win this game. Their bullpen has been excellent in the last 30 days. It's been one of the best bullpens in baseball. So if this is a low-scoring and close game late, I got to give the edge to the San Francisco Giants. Give me the under and the San Francisco Giants on the money line. Next up, we see the Los Angeles Angels taking on the Texas Rangers. We're going to see Jaime Barria and John Gray on the mound. Jaime Barria is off to a great start this year in his first 39 innings of work, most of those out of the bullpen, a 1.85 ERA. His last couple of games were starts for the Angels, 5 innings of work each against the White Sox and the Cubs, only 3 earned runs combined. The only problem is I just don't think it's going to be enough for the Angels to win this game. The Rangers have been such a good home team this season. John Gray's last start, 9 innings of work, only 1 run. It wasn't enough for the Rangers to win that game. They lost at 1-0 the final, but he had 12 strikeouts in that game. He's been able to go 7 innings or more in each of his last 3 starts. He's earning strikeouts. He's only given up 1 earned run or fewer in all of his last 5 starts. He's just been one of the hotter pitchers in baseball. The Rangers lineup usually backs him up, and that one start against the Cardinals, kind of an anomaly, as the Rangers bats have really been there for Gray and all the Rangers starters this season. So, Barria, I could see him pitching pretty well in the first 4 or 5 innings, but this Angels bullpen, not my favorite. I'm going to take the Rangers here on the money line and lean towards the under as well. Next up, it's an NL Central battle between the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Chicago Cubs. We're going to see Luis Ortiz and Jameson Taillon on the mound. I don't really love either of these options in the starting pitching matchup. Luis Ortiz gave up 10 base hits in his last start against the Oakland A's, and he has an ERA just below 7 on the road this season, while Jameson Taillon has an ERA at 7.02 overall this year, and even steeper numbers at Wrigley Field, 8.27. But for me, the plus money is where the value lies with the Pittsburgh Pirates, a team with a winning record, a team with the better bullpen by far, in my opinion, and a team with, honestly, probably the better lineup right now. When you look at the last 2 weeks or so, we know the Pittsburgh Pirates really struggled offensively in the beginning of May, at the beginning to mid-May, but started to pick it up a little bit towards the end of the month into June. I think they're the better option here. I'm going to take Pittsburgh at plus money. You can take the 1.5 runs on the run line, but for me in a game, it's kind of a coin flip. I'd rather just be on the side with the underdog. Next up, we see the Cincinnati Reds taking on the Kansas City Royals. Brandon Williamson going for Cincinnati, and Jordan Lyles on the other side for the Royals. Now, we know Jordan Lyles notably 0-10 personally in his win-loss record this season, but to go beyond that, the Royals have lost every single game that he has started this year, including the 6 starts in the month of April, the 5 starts in the month of May, and the first 2 starts here in June. I do think that this is going to be a high-scoring game. Brandon Williamson has got a 5.4 ERA. After a good start to his season in his major league career, he has struggled and regressed quite a bit. His last start against the Dodgers, 5 2/3 innings, 6 earned runs, and 3 home runs in that game. The Reds still got the win in the end in that one, but I do think overall this is going to be a higher scoring game. We've seen the Reds put up some pretty crooked numbers offensively in the last week or so. I think they'll be able to get to Lyles, but I also think the Royals will be able to get to Williamson in a pretty big way. Not the best bullpen, so give me the over here at Kauffman Stadium. Next up, we see the Houston Astros taking on the Washington Nationals. Hunter Brown and Patrick Corbin are your starters. I don't love this matchup for Hunter Brown. We've seen him not really be in the best of form as of late. His last start was a quality start against the Blue Jays, but he gave up 2 home runs in that game and 3 walks. So before that, he gave 5 earned runs in 4 2/3 against the Twins. So not in the best of form going into this one. His ERA is above 4 at Minute Maid Park this season. But I also just think that the Astros are going to be able to back him up no matter what offensively. And that's why I still like the Astros in this game on the run line, as they've hit lefties well this season. We saw that last year as well. Patrick Corbin, last start, 11 base hits in 6 innings of work against the Diamondbacks. He's not been able to miss a lot of bats recently. Started to give some more sharp contact and some, just a good amount of base runners in general. His whip up there at 1.52 now on the season, and an ERA above 5 at 5.72 on the road. So I do expect Houston, no matter what happens with Hunter Brown, to be able to score a lot of runs in this game against Corbin and one of the worst bullpens in baseball. You could take the Astros team total over. You could take the full game over between both teams if you expect Hunter Brown to struggle, like I kind of have my concerns with. But for me, the safest play, or the play I'm looking at, is just the Astros on the run line. I think no matter what happens with Brown, the Astros bats are going to be there. So give me the Houston Astros team total over and the run line here laying 1.5 runs. Next up, we see the Seattle Mariners taking on the Miami Marlins. Edward Cabrera and George Kirby are your projected starters. Edward Cabrera has struggled away from Lone Depot Park. We've seen that with a few starters for the Marlins this season. It makes sense. Lone Depot Park is a pitcher-friendly ballpark, but Edward Cabrera, 5.91 ERA and an 0-4 record on the road is pretty concerning, even going to a pitcher-friendly ballpark in T-Mobile Park. George Kirby's been, as of late, inconsistent. Certainly, 5 earned runs in his last start. Before that, 8 innings of shutout baseball against the Yankees. Before that, 7 earned runs against the Pittsburgh Pirates. So he's kind of been all over the place as of late. I still think he's the better option here. The Marlins, not overall this season, not the best numbers against right-handed pitchers. I think Kirby is the better starter in this matchup. Cabrera, it's just a little bit concerning when he's with that 0-4 record and that steep ERA on the road. I just can't get there with him. So give me the Seattle Mariners on the money line. Next up, it's the Arizona Diamondbacks taking on the Philadelphia Phillies. Zach Davies and Zach Wheeler are your starters. Zach Davies has pitched pretty well as of late for the Diamondbacks. His last 2 starts, 2 wins for Arizona, 3 runs and 2 runs allowed to the Rockies and Nationals. But I still have my concerns with this game overall. He doesn't really miss a lot of bats overall in the bottom 32nd percentile in K percentage because he doesn't really earn a lot of whiffs or chases. His velocity is not great. His expected batting average is also not great. So I do expect Davies to struggle here and going forward, where he has struggled at Chase Field so far, a 6.75 ERA at home this season. On the other side, though, Zach Wheeler has struggled notably on the road this year, a 5.18 ERA. We saw him struggle away from home in the last couple of seasons as well for Philadelphia and other teams. And, Wheeler faced these Diamondbacks back on May 22nd, gave 4 total runs, 3 of those were earned, 8 base hits and 2 home runs in that game, only 3 strikeouts in his 6-3 Arizona win. I don't really love his chances in this game either. The Diamondbacks lineup has been so good against righties. They limit strikeouts, they get on base. I'm going to take the over here in Philadelphia, Arizona. Next up, we see the Tampa Bay Rays taking on the Oakland Athletics. Hogan Harris going for Oakland. No official starter for the Rays right now. We could see a bullpen game going for Tampa Bay. We know Kevin Cash kind of invented the opener and the bullpen game kind of aspect of Major League Baseball. And he's used plenty of them this season as the Rays have dealt with some injuries early on in their starting rotation. So I wouldn't be surprised to see another bullpen game here. But you guys know I've kind of been pretty critical of the Rays bullpen, and we know the expected numbers aren't great. The ERA in the last 30 days has not been great, and the Oakland A's lineup has been a lot better as of late than it was at the beginning of the season. So I do think Oakland puts up a fight here offensively, but I don't love Hogan Harris on the other side for the Athletics starting pitching. He's got a 10.13 ERA in his first 5 1/3 innings at home this season. Very small sample size, but he hasn't pitched a lot this year. And his last start, 5 innings, 3 earned runs against the Pittsburgh Pirates. It was good enough for the A's to win that game, but it was also a game where the Pirates took, the A's took a big lead early on, so Hogan Harris really didn't have to worry about anything in that ball game. Against Tampa Bay Rays, I do think Hogan Harris struggles in this one. A left-handed pitcher facing a Rays lineup. It's crushed lefties this season and in the last 30 days. Where you look at those numbers for Tampa Bay, the strikeout rate's low. The OPS is at 889, which is second in baseball. Their isolated power is third best in baseball. So give me the over here in Tampa Bay, Oakland. Next up, it's the Cleveland Guardians taking on the San Diego Padres with Tanner Bybee and Joe Musgrove as the starters. I think the Guardians compete in this game. I'm going to take the 1.5 runs here with Cleveland as the road underdogs. Tanner Bybee's been pitching well this season, 3.05 ERA. He's facing a Padres team that has not been great against right-handed pitchers, and a Padres team, this is their first game back from a Coors Field series. I know they had a day off in between, which should help a little bit, but I still expect some sluggish bats here for San Diego early on. And Joe Musgrove, when you look at his numbers, his home ERA is steep at 5.89, but it's a little bit misleading, actually, very misleading, because one of those starts at home was actually a start at Mexico City in the Mexico City series. So, the Padres were the home team, so it's why his home ERA is that high. He's actually got a 3.00 ERA in 15 innings of work at Petco Park. So, it's important to know if you're looking at that handicapping yourself going forward with Joe Musgrove's home starts. But I still think that the Guardians do a really good job at limiting strikeouts, a solid lineup, a competitive lineup. It's a team that never goes away, even if they're down early. I think this game's going to be close. Give me the Cleveland Guardians plus the 1.5 runs. And the final game for Tuesday's card in Major League Baseball, it's the Chicago White Sox taking on the Los Angeles Dodgers. Lance Lynn and Tony Gonsolin are your starters. Now, Tony Gonsolin's not going to have the best expected numbers, and right now he's got a 2.21 ERA, much steeper xFIP and expected ERA and Sierra, but he's still a guy that goes out there and gives the Dodgers some pretty good innings. They are 3-2 on the money line in his last 5 starts, and I expect him to win this game and cover the run line in the end. Lance Lynn has been very inconsistent in 2023. We've seen some really good starts from him. We've mostly seen some bad starts from him. His last couple of games, 4 innings against the Angels, 8 earned runs, 8 base hits, and 3 homers. And then after that, the New York Yankees, 5 innings, 8 base hits, 5 earned runs, another homer, and 3 walks. He just hasn't been good enough here against a very tough Dodgers lineup against right-handed pitchers. I got to take the Dodgers here and lay the 1.5 runs, especially with the White Sox bullpen also struggling and missing Liam Hendricks, who's now on the 15-day IL. Give me the Dodgers on the run line. And that's it. Those are the games for Tuesday in Major League Baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.